Recording in progress. Oh, are we doing all from the beginning?
In the Pop Culture Cupid podcast, we talk about how pop culture influences our expectations in relationships. I'm Alison, love coach, here to help you single people find your way back to love.
Healthy communication. I'm Michelle. I help singles embrace themselves and their singleness, as well as develop a healthy self-relationship. We bring some juicy stories from our own love lives and dating, and it gets pretty interesting. Be focused, we're going to be to the point, and no digressing.
Self-awareness. Follow, share, subscribe, enjoy.
And like and comment.
If it's shockingly bad, we just re-record another one.
Yeah. No, I think there's some good stuff that you can just nitpick.
Okay.
Recording in progress. Hello.
This is a very under the weather.
Yes, congested episode. But, fun times.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, we won't let it, hold us back.
Yeah, so we are, I don't know where we are posting wise. I know that I need to upload some videos. But we are recording our reaction to the Love Is Blind reunion.
Yeah, and the weddings technically, because we haven't reacted to that. But that was kind of like,
Yeah,
the weddings always meh.
I don't know that they're meh usually, but this one particularly so, because the two couples that got married, we knew they were going to get married, and
yeah,
there was like the 15 minutes of Marissa and Ramses drama at the beginning, and then that was it.
Yeah. I don't know. I was like, I can't even remember what happened. I'm just like, I watched it, it happened, and I'm like, already forgot it. But
yeah, well, Marissa and
it is
Ramses
what it
broke
is.
up, and that's what it is.
Yeah, true. Not
Because
surprising at all.
Because previously some weddings in previous seasons, like, you didn't really know if they were going to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Like, they got all the way to the altar and then some people said no. Whereas here, there was only going to be Ramses and Marissa that we didn't think they were going to say yes, and they ended up breaking up beforehand.
Yeah.
So it was just uneventful. And I mean, Ramses is never, I think, this is horrible. And this is congested, hormonal, tired Alison speaking. I'm just like, I think he's never going to find love.
Ah, well, not with that attitude. I feel like when you're only thinking about what you want and what's best for you, and you don't want to be uncomfortable at all, then yeah, because love is thinking about someone else, and love is being uncomfortable sometimes, and love is not always perfect and not always, butterflies and rainbows and pink skies. It's about not sacrifice, but like about like making compromises and being there for another person and not only being there on your term.
Yeah,
So
it's, I often reflect on this kind of topic about, you want to be thinking about yourself, and then you want to, I'm just looking at myself and I'm just so big.
no, you're actually not that big considering you're pregnant.
Yeah, well, thank you. But I'm feeling, when it gets to a point where you can't really bend over as easily anymore,
Yeah.
and my breasts have just exploded. I don't know if you
Well,
can tell, but I'll send you a picture afterwards. On that picture, it's anyway, whatever.
but they look great, and that's what matters.
Thank you.
And I'm sure JT is enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, JT is happy. Hopefully my son will be able to feed properly. I'm not carrying these things around for nothing,
Well, they will go down eventually, but
yeah, but hopefully not before that he's had his fill. Anyway.
We're digressing. Oh my
We're
God.
digressing already. It's been like a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Sorry. So, yeah, on how on I often reflect on, you want to be thinking about yourself, and I think we both agree on, you want to make yourself a priority.
Yeah.
But let's say if you have, let's speak in fucks to give. If you have 100 fucks to give, the majority of fucks want to be given to yourself. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean 100, and it doesn't mean 51, and it doesn't mean 50. It means if you're going to give them out, make sure that you've got one extra than whatever comes second. Um, and I think that some people have gone so much into I need to make myself a priority that they are forgetting that if they want to live in a community and in society and in partnership, then they also need to give some leeway to people around them.
Especially if you want other people to also make you a priority, because that's at the end of the day what a relationship is. Also, well, also in friendships a lot of times, but like specifically in romantic relationships, when you're with someone and you want them to make you a priority, you also need to make them a priority as well. I
Yeah,
mean, if you want to get that kind of like treatment and have someone be good to you and be good for you and be there for you and support you, whatever it is, it's a give and take at the end of the day. And
yeah,
prioritizing someone else is also a way to prioritize yourself because you're getting something out of it at the end of the day. And it's just part of being in a relationship and part of being in life. You can't, yes, obviously you have to take care of yourself first and foremost. You have to prioritize yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. But part of life is also
yeah,
being there for other people and also thinking of other people and understanding that it's never going to be exactly
a
how you
hundred
want
percent
it.
for you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I mean, and Ramses says, it's good for you for putting yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
but then the reasons why you're put, like he was saying stuff along the lines of so wishy-washy of just, I understand like the what he was saying about like each other's energy and everything, and but the way that it happened was so out of the blue, and the way Marissa took it so harsh, I was just like,
Yeah.
you, and then the way he addressed the whole comments about the contraception and things like that, I was like, you're just digging yourself a hole here. You know, you want to put yourself, he only wants to have his need met. He only
Yeah.
wants to have his needs met. Um, which is just
Yeah.
it's
When I was watching the reunion, I wrote down that he's stuck in I.
yeah,
Every every sentence that comes out of his mouth is just focused on I words. Like
yeah,
I'm this and I'm that and I feel this and I feel that and I didn't want, I did want. And I'm like, yes, it's important, but there's another person here. And you can't only think about yourself once you have another person in the mix. There's nothing you
yeah,
can do about it. You chose to go in this experience, experiment, whatever you want to call it, and you decided to take part in it, to couple up with her. And as soon as you did that, you agreed to also take her into consideration and her feelings
yeah,
and understand that now, yes, you're still an individual, but you're also a unit, and that has to come into play. And I just felt like instead of having conversations with her, he was having them with himself and just deciding with himself what's best for him. Because he could have told her much earlier. He even said that he had the doubts, but he didn't want to bring it up because he wasn't sure what would come of it, that it was even something. But at the end of the day, that's how you prevent these things from happening, for good and for bad. You talk about things as they come up when there's still a little spark and not when they're already this big fire that's hard to
yeah,
tame. And if you have spoken to her about it first, not only would it have looped her in and showed her that you're in there and you care about her and you want her to to understand where you are and also not lying to her about it, but also it gives you a chance to discuss it before it becomes a huge big thing, and it gives her a chance to understand where you are and not be surprised and blindsided when it's already way down the line and she's already much more invested.
Especially like as everything in his behavior led to, everybody thinking, well, not everybody, because, only Marissa seemingly, but whatever. His
Yeah.
behavior led to, thinking that this was on the right track because of what he was saying and
Mm-hmm.
what he was doing. And it reminded me of I got broken up with years ago. This guy had been had been amazing the whole time, and given me gifts and been very attentive and just been really cool up until the day we were supposed to go on a road trip. And on that day, like, he just was a no-show, and I didn't hear from him, and he wasn't
Mm.
texting me back. And at this point, like, we had been dating for 6 months. Like, this wasn't,
Wow.
yeah, this wasn't like just, a couple of months and it fizzled out. Like, this was, we were 6 months in. And and then he showed up and we had a conversation and we ended up breaking up. And he was like, I've been having doubts for like a week and a half or something, you know,
Yeah.
which is a decent amount of time, over 6 months. If you've been having doubts for a week, it's all right. But his whole behavior during that time was completely, as I said, he'd given me gifts, he'd been calling me, texting me, he'd been so attentive. He'd slept over at my
Mm-hmm.
place, he'd asked me to come over at his. He'd been saying things like, I miss you, things like that. And then he does this really dickhead move and then says, I've been having doubts, and then we break up. And I was like, that I'm not saying you need to ease me into it. I'm saying that, words need to match what you feel, and actions and things like that. And this, I was just like, when then, he said, I didn't want to hurt you. And I was like, well, the more you build me up, the harder I'll fall. As if
Yeah.
you started having doubts and then were pulling back and things like that, then it would make sense. But this just doesn't make sense. And that was the same for Andres.
Yeah. And I feel, I don't know, it's just whole thing. I felt really bad for her. I really liked her.
Yeah, I
And
like her too.
he was constantly just making her feel bad for her military background. And then, he's, being all mightier than now. And then he's the one to break it off with her and treat her that way. I'm like, oh God, get over yourself. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's funny because I was watching a video about this yesterday. I think it was on YouTube, something that came up how the ideal men today, like it used to be, like there was this comparison. It used to be like, these um
Butch.
yeah, big strong men, manly mans and like macho man. And today it's like the Timothy Chalamets of the world. So I think that's like that's the absurd part about it, is like that the Ramses is like the kind of men that women like today. Some women, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's like the ideal man today, like the kind of feminine men more.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of put an asterisk on it, I think there's no problem with being an effeminate man and being in touch with your emotions. But it's,
No, there
if you
isn't.
look at women, because this is all stemming from, the Me Too movement and femininity and feminism and things like that.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Well, I
Because
mean,
no, because Zev is a very manly. He's a very big, like he. Well, besides the fact that he's physically big, he's a man. He's like a very typical man. Sometimes he also like has like these very olden ways of like seeing things, but he's also very in touch with his emotions, and he's also very sensitive. So I don't think it has
um,
anything to do with kind of
there's something going on with your microphone.
with my microphone.
Yeah, you've gone all robot
Oh
y.
yeah, for some reason it switched microphones. 1 minute. Sorry about that. Can you hear me
Oh, there
better?
we are. Yep.
I don't know why it switched microphones over there. What was the
Saying Zev was manly man.
yeah, so Zev is a manly man at his core, and he's very much like he thinks a bit like like the olden days sometimes in like terms of like couple roles and whatever. But he's also very sensitive and also very in touch with his emotions and so I don't know how much it's to do with like being like how much having feelings and being emotional and being in touch with your own feelings is connected to being feminine. Yes, it has a connection, but I don't think it has to be either or.
No, I agree, and where I completely agree. And where I was going with it is that if you look at women and things people who are in touch with their emotions are dependable, are clear on what they say and want, and are
Yeah,
and
yeah. He's not
sometimes too
dependable.
much so. And he wasn't. He was just wishy-washy. And anyway, I think and when he addressed the whole
Yeah,
like contraceptive thing, the way he addressed it was just like you are proving everyone's point of
yeah,
I wasn't gonna force her to go on hormones. Yeah, but you were not gonna. Everybody here knows that you weren't gonna force her to go on hormones, but you weren't gonna put on a condom, and therefore you weren't gonna have sex, and you were gonna break up because of it. And everybody here
yeah.
knows it. So anyway, we can move on from them. Um, Something that I really found. So I watched this really heart-wrenching documentary on Netflix a couple of days ago about domestic abuse. Um,
Oh.
and I don't know why I did it. And it was kind of like a train wreck. It was the same thing, like you start watching it and then you can't really stop, even though you feel horrible
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yeah.
And I think the name of it was My Wife, My Abuser. Um,
Oh.
and it was I mean, it was a great documentary, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who's feeling a bit emotional because it is anyway. And I made this parallel with Nick and Hannah of because the documentary was she was physically harming him, and
Yeah.
so obviously Hannah is not, violent, but the way that she justified herself, it was so similar to the way this other woman was justifying herself. And so again, I'm not accusing Hannah of anything. I'm just like, we've gotten into a point where women can get away with a lot by
Mm-hmm.
by you know so obviously hurting someone isn't ever justifiable, but Hannah and her friends, and including Marissa, which I was disappointed about, they were like,
Yeah.
she was shitty to you, why didn't you defend yourself, and why, and blah blah blah, and like I'm owning up to the fact that I was shitty to you, why are you not owning up to the fact that you were shitty back, and things like that. And I was like, this is so strange, like you are fabricating this excuse of why you were such a, like, you've owned up to the fact that you were being a horrible human being, but then you are expecting him to own up as well. And it was kind of unclear on what he did or didn't say and things like that. And I was just like, this is so weird. Like, Hannah, you just own up. You can say, I appreciated it when she said, I was feeling self-conscious, and and it brought all of this up. You know, some of it is on you, but some of it is on me, and that's that. Because I agree with that. I think when people mess up, which is what Hannah did, it's never 100% on the person messing up. I think it's always, shared, and whether or not the other person owns up, I think, that's that. I messed up. A lot of it was because of me, some of it was because of you, but let's leave it at that. But the way, the whole thing, they tried to shine a light on why he was the bigger bad guy. I was just not not having it.
Yeah, because she was trying to soften her blow by sharing it with him. She wanted him to get a blow as well. It was
It was like, it's hard to admit when you were wrong. And I think when I and I think it makes you very brave and very strong to be able to say I was wrong and I didn't do this the right way, or I should have treated you differently. But it all cancels out the moment you have to bring someone down with you. You have to do it irrespective, without even taking into consideration what they will do, because you're partly doing it for yourself, to let go, to grow, to develop, and try to be a better person. And you shouldn't do something just to get the same thing in return.
Yeah.
And I think once you do that, it sort of cancels out your apology or the changing that you did or whatever it is, because it's not coming from a genuine place. And they just like hold in on this one little thing that he did. Like the whole time they were talking about this one thing that he said. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
off camera.
it's like, like this he said, she said kind of thing, or he said, everyone said kind of thing, because, but who knows?
So
Although, yeah,
I think what happened is I do believe that he didn't find Hannah to his liking at the beginning.
mm-mm.
It's I'm willing to accept that. I think, it's just I think I don't know. It wasn't shocking to me when it was said that he didn't find her to his liking. I was fine with that. And I think
Yeah,
also it's fine. A lot of couples that ended up getting married and that more or less made it through, they all said like when the reveal happened, I wasn't blown away. But then you build on it, and then and you kind of look past it. And I'm not saying that that's what he did. I'm just saying it doesn't matter. And I think there was probably one throwaway comment that he didn't find Hannah to his liking. I believe it. It was probably harsh. It was probably unkind. I believe it. However, I believe that it only happened once. And that one thing happening does not justify the rest of Hannah's behavior. And that's what they were trying
yeah.
to do. I think if it was one comment and one overreaction, then they cancel each other out and they're fine. But I think the way, you know, I killed your mother because you called me ugly once. It's like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It escalates to that type of thing. There's not one event doesn't justify weeks of negative behavior. And I found it disappointing because I was kind of hoping that Hannah was gonna watch this and kind of reflect and be like, yeah, I behaved poorly. Some things I was justified in, others weren't, and room to grow. And she.
Yeah, but like, and he's also allowed to have his feelings about this and talk to his friends about it. And it's not as if he did it on camera, and it's not as if he was continuously talking about how she
Yeah,
looks, and it wasn't as if he was like constantly telling everyone around him that he doesn't like the way she looks. It was one time, no one even knew about it, and it didn't even come up until the reunion. So I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I were to say something about Zev to my friend, because that's the way I feel, and I'm not trying to mock him, and I'm not trying to put him down, and I'm not trying to like insult him, and just saying something to my friend behind closed doors, then there wouldn't be anything bad about that. So,
yeah, exactly. And
just sharing
especially
with a friend.
like Nick was sharing whatever he shared with other guys. I think it's Stephen who told Monica, it's like
Ugh, that's
tell
Stephen.
you don't tell your partner who's friends with the person in question, because if you told me something, if Zev were my brother or whatever, if like my sister-in-law
Yeah.
told me something about my brother. My sister-in-law and I have come a very long way and we get along quite well now. Um, but if she told me something about my brother, my loyalty to my brother trumps my loyalty to her always.
Yeah.
And if if I don't know, if same with like, a friend, like a couple of friends, like if one of them told me something about the other, and I can't, I'm not, I mean, this is a very complicated situation. And so him
Mm.
telling Stephen is one thing, but Stephen telling Monica when Monica has more loyalty to Hannah than she does to Nick, of course it's going to get transformed and repeated and everything when
Yeah.
one throwaway comment becomes this whole big thing.
And Monica's also very harsh. She likes
Yeah,
cutthroat.
we were saying, one of these, she's this girl power, it doesn't see anything wrong, women can't do anything wrong type of person, and I'm just, I profoundly
Yeah.
disagree with that.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen is where it got dramatized and where it got like, broken
Yeah.
telephone because oh my God, he's such a drama queen. So he's like, I can't he like I don't know, he needs to learn how to keep his mouth shut.